There was a 19-year-old Korean girl named Haruko who was attending university in a large city. One night, she had to stay in late in the library to finish a project and it was almost dark by the time she returned home. Haruko lived on the 14th floor of an old apartment building. She stood in the entrance and pressed the button to call the elevator. When the elevator came, she stepped inside and pushed the button to her floor. Just as doors were about to close, a handsome man came running up. The man was out of breath and put out his hand to stop the elevator from closing. Then, he stepped into the elevator and stood beside her. "You live on the 14th floor?" he asked, seeing the 14th button lit up. "Yes," replied Haruko. "Oh," said the man, smiling, "I live on the 13th floor." As the elevator ascended, he pressed the button to the 13th floor. Through the windows in the elevator, Haruko watched the floors go by, as they both stood in silence. She stole a few glances at the man. He certainly was handsome. She wondered if he would ever be interested in dating her. When he happened to look at her, she batted her eyelids and smiled sweetly. Just then, the elevator stopped at the 13th floor. The doors opened and a man stepped out. "See you later," he said. "Yes, see you," replied Haruko. As the doors of the elevator were closing behind him, the man turned to look at her as he suddenly pulled out a knife and said, "Upstairs." He then began to run up the staircase to the 14th floor. The girl was terrified, but before she could do anything, the elevator closed and began to take her up to the 14th floor. She began to panic. Desperately, she hammered the buttons with her fist, trying to get the elevator to stop. But it was no use. When it reached the 14th floor and the doors opened, the man was already standing there, waiting. In Korea, people say that this is a true story. The girl was found dead, stabbed to death in the elevator. People say that the worst part was not her death itself, but knowing that as the elevator moved upwards, she was going to die. They claim that this is the reason why elevators now have a stop button.